An Afghan man who helped U.S. troops in Afghanistan was detained by Immigration and Customs Enforcement officers last week in San Diego. CBS News obtained video showing two unidentified ICE agents put Syed Nasser in handcuffs and escorted him from a federal courthouse where he was attending a mandatory immigration hearing. In the video, Nasser says he worked for the U.S. military for more than 3 years in his home country. His lawyer says he was legally paroled into the country last year. CBS News immigration and politics reporter Camilo Montoya-Galvez joins us now. It's great to have you here in person. So what do we know about his arrest and what happens next?
Well, according to his lawyers, this man from Afghanistan has no criminal record in the U.S. or in his native country of origin. We also understand that he entered the country legally in 2024 under the Biden administration, under a smartphone app system that administration had put in place for people to request asylum along the U.S.-Mexico border, and that he has a pending immigration case. These are factors that traditionally would make somebody unlikely to be arrested by Immigration and Customs Enforcement. But as you know, the Trump administration has now cast a wider net on who is actually eligible to be arrested by ICE, irrespective of whether or not they have a criminal history. And the agency right now is under intense and tremendous pressure to boost the level of deportations and arrests. The White House is demanding 3,000 daily arrests, which would be rather an unprecedented number. And so this speaks to that increase in eligibility for deportations, but it also speaks to this broader tactic that ICE is employing by going into immigration courthouses and arresting people who are attending the hearings that the government is telling them to show up to.
You've also reported on an ICE operation that saw more than 80 immigrants suspected of being in the U.S. illegally arrested in Louisiana Tuesday. Fill me in on that.
Sure. So ICE conducted a law enforcement immigration arrest operation at a racetrack in Louisiana, and they, according to officials, arrested 84 individuals suspected of being in the U.S. illegally and of not having proper documents to work in the country lawfully. And they received help from the FBI, ATF, Border Patrol, and also the Louisiana State Police. That shows that the administration is looking across the federal government for help for ICE to expand its immigration crackdown, including these agencies that I mentioned, but also local friendly jurisdictions like in Louisiana, Texas, and Florida, led by Republican lawmakers. It also illustrates that worksite immigration enforcement continues despite that whiplash in potential changes to enforcement at farms, restaurants, and hotels. Initially last week, ICE was instructed to pause immigration arrests at farms, restaurants, and concerns amid concerns from industry leaders that the administration's crackdown was hurting the U.S. economy, but that policy was later reversed just days after that was issued.
And you're saying now that their goal is about 300?
3,000 actually,
3,000 a day. And what was it before?
Under the Biden administration, in the final year, it was about 300. During the first 100 days of President Trump's second administration, that number rose to about 700. That number now stands at about 1,200 daily arrests. So there has been an increase in ICE arrests, but the number is still far below that 3,000 daily arrest mark that the White House is pushing for.
And then I also wanted to ask you about the National Guard in California. What is the latest information that's going on there?
Well, as you know, President Trump, in response to those anti-ICE protests in Los Angeles, activated the National Guard and U.S. Marines to be deployed to Southern California to, one, protect federal property like the Immigration Court and the local ICE field office, but also to protect the deportation agency, ICE officials who are arresting people suspected of being in the country illegally. Now we have learned that 2,000 additional National Guard troops have arrived in Los Angeles to support these operations. Again, one, to support federal agents who are arresting undocumented individuals, but two, to protect federal property.
All right, Camilo, thank you so much for all your great reporting. Appreciate it.